Started playing piano at a really young age, was always a singer, and then when I was a teenager I had discovered like Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. I'm like, I really just want to be a songwriter. And I worked on that and I practiced at it when I was in high school. And as far as like career choice, I didn't know how it was all going to tie together. I just knew I wanted to play music and I wanted to create more than anything.
Try to catch you when you fall.
I always say like I kind of instinctively knew that I was going to be a musician one way or another, so.
Too much, too fast.
I feel really fortunate that I started at such a young age. It never felt like work to me, like practicing, because I even teach students now too. Sometimes I'll have parents that'll be like, "Oh, so-and-so doesn't want to practice." I'm like, I really can't relate to that because that was what I did growing up. Like to get home from school, the first place I went was right to the piano. So I spent a good 7 years learning the craft basically and learning how to play. And by the time I was 12, 13, it's when I started playing guitar as well. So when I started playing acoustic guitar, that's when I started to experiment more with songwriting too. But I had already had like a basis of 7, 8 years of music lessons, and that's the thing about music, you're never done. I'm still learning things now and getting better, you know.
It's understood, it's all unsaid.
Well, I'm 34 now, and I probably wrote my first song when I was about 15, 16 years old. I am working on my 5th full-length record, so I have a body of work, and when I look back on it, I feel proud of it. I'll still play songs live from my first record, which came out when I was 19. There's definitely been a progression, and I see the different time periods when those albums were written. They kind of mirror what had been going on in my life, and they come out in different ways, but I'm certainly not embarrassed by anything. I'll just as much play a song from my first record as a song that, you know, my most recent song. Being such a die-hard Beach Boys fan, I mean, I didn't grow up in that time period, obviously, but, you know, credit my parents for having those records around. I just love the sound of the vocal harmonies on there, and, you know, that high Brian Wilson falsetto voice. I couldn't even sing falsetto when I was 19, 20 years old, so that's like another thing that I learned how to do and worked on that, and that's become like a big part of me stylistically, trying to mimic that falsetto sounding voice and just messing with vocal harmonies. I've always had a ton of friends, singers that have been in various forms of my band, so I always like to experiment with all that vocal harmony stuff.
See yourself inside my world. Oh, when you love someone too much, too fast.
I think when I was learning to write songs, I was trying to marry those two things together, kind of the California Beach Boys sound with very deep folk rock kind of lyrics.
Whoa, whoa, yeah. Ooh, whoa, whoa, yeah.
Songs on my second record, Live, Laugh, Love, I was dealing with a lot of family issues. You know, my dad was not very kind to me, and most importantly, this is what I talked about, and I did a TEDx talk about it this year, that I was in a near fatal diabetic coma back in 2010, while in the middle of working on that record. And the title track, Go Ahead, Live, Laugh, Love, was actually a reflection of my experience surviving that. And you'd never know it listening to the song because I kind of hit it in the context of like just a broken romantic relationship, but that's just a metaphor to me. The chorus is go ahead, go away. I'm kind of telling my diabetes to go ahead and go away.
Don't feel what you don't know. Take that part of you and let it go. It won't make any difference to a mind of substance.
Yeah, it's just changed over the years. My Girasol record was my last full length that came out end of 2017. And a lot of those songs, I call that my observing record, because they weren't necessarily things that were happening to me. I was just do a lot of like people watching during that time. Things I don't understand are what bother me the most. When I see people not treat others well, that really bothers me. So I did a lot of reflecting and writing about those kind of concepts on that record.
Go ahead and just go ahead. You
never do things just for money. You should do things for the love and passion of it first. And that's what drew me to music in the first place. That's what I always try to convey to my students. Play in the hospital too, for all my patients there. There's so many ways that you can affect people's lives positively with music. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a Justin Bieber or #1 selling artist. Like, we're just fortunate to have so much music even in this town too. So many talented people all over the place. So you're not defined by what your job is, you're defined by who you are as a person. So I try to encourage all my students to remind them why you're doing this in the first place. And for me, it's always been for the love and passion of it, #1.
Lives better anyway. People lie and people steal. People cheat for a cheap fee.
There's so many talented people around here, and I think that's a really good thing because, you know, you never want to get complacent as an artist. People ask me why I work so hard, and that's why I'm always writing, always recording, always playing, because I never want to feel like, oh, I've done this and mission accomplished. And you always want to keep progressing, keep moving forward, and there's a lot to be learned from everybody in this town. So. The hotel, one of my favorite places, not only to play, but just to hang out. And I come to the Wednesday shows after a long day of work, and oh, 3 of my singer-songwriter friends are performing this evening. So it's just a cool spot to hang, and everybody's super supportive of each other, and we're all trying to accomplish the same thing. So we're all passing each other's recordings around, and you see everybody making their Spotify playlist. That's always a flattering thing too, when, you know, your song gets included in something like that. So a lot of ideas floating around, and music is one big collaboration, right?
Am I who won't pay? No, go ahead, just go ahead, go.
I just wanted to sing and write songs, and I'm glad people enjoy it, but I really don't need the praise and recognition for that. My favorite place to be and to perform is in the hospital, because I really feel like I'm making a difference in the lives of these patients and their families.
Gotta live a little, gotta live a little, gotta live a little bit.
To be in like an intimate setting like that, where you might sometimes just be in front of the patient or a few people at most, it's a pretty incredible feeling, I have to be honest, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks so much.